You are 16 years old. You are sitting in your bedroom at 2 a.m. The room is dark except for the monitor. Your parents are asleep down the hall. You failed a math test this week. You have no friends you'd call real friends. You have a computer, a broadband connection, and more free time than you know what to do with. Someone on a forum posted a tool, a program. Type in an address, click run, watch the screen. You don't fully know what an IP address is. You copy one from a tutorial. You paste it in. Something happens. Numbers scroll across the monitor. You stare at them. You don't understand what any of it means. But something on the other side responded. Something answered back. That feeling doesn't leave you for weeks. Level 1. The script kiddie. You're not a hacker yet. You are someone who runs other people's tools. You found them on forums and YouTube tutorials and Discord servers where everyone uses usernames and nobody mentions their real name. The tools do things you can't fully explain. Port scanners, packet sniffers, exploit frameworks someone else wrote entirely. You run them and watch the output and feel like you're doing something significant. You're not. You are the bottom of the bottom. Every serious hacker knows what a script kiddie is. They were one too once. But they don't say that when they call you out. They call you out fast and without mercy. You get banned from forums. You get laughed at publicly. The output you thought looked impressive is meaningless to anyone who actually knows how to read it. You know enough to feel dangerous, not enough to be dangerous to anyone except yourself. You try to access things you shouldn't touch. Your school's network, a game server that banned your account, a website you have some grudge against. Most of it fails completely. The attempts leave logs you don't know exist yet. System administrators somewhere see connection requests from your home address and close whatever door you knocked on. Nothing happens to you, not yet. You are too small to matter to anyone. That smallness is the only thing protecting you right now. Level 2. The student. Something shifted. You stopped running tools and started reading. Not tutorials, documentation, RFC specifications, CVE databases, books on TCP/IP networking that are 400 pages long and assume you already know things you don't. You sit with those pages anyway. You reread paragraphs 5 times. You build a lab on your own machine using virtual environments running different operating systems. You break them deliberately. You fix them. You break them again. Nobody pays you to do this. Nobody knows you're doing it. You're doing it because that feeling from the monitor at 2 a.m. happens again every time something works. The feeling is clean. Cause and effect. You do a thing. The system responds. The response tells you something true about how the world is actually constructed underneath the surface everyone else clicks through without a second thought. You learn networking at a real level. You learn how packets move between machines. You learn what happens at every layer of a connection. You learn about operating systems in ways most people who use computers every day will never reach. You learn about memory, about how programs handle data, about what happens when they handle it incorrectly. You start to understand that every piece of software ever written was written by a person. Persons make mistakes. Mistakes leave gaps. Gaps are what hackers live inside. That understanding is the beginning of everything that follows. The documentation is dense and interconnected. Networking assumes you know the operating systems. Operating systems assume you understand hardware. Hardware specifications reference all 3 at once. You make note cards. You redraw network diagrams and label them from memory. You test your understanding by building miniature versions of things you read about. The compounding effect of understanding is that each new piece of knowledge makes the next piece easier to grasp. You stop feeling like you're climbing a wall and start feeling like you're climbing a spiral staircase. Each loop brings you back to the same topics but from a higher elevation. You make your first original discovery. It's small. A misconfiguration in a router you're running in your lab, but you found it yourself without a script. You reasoned your way to it. You documented it. You read what you wrote back and it makes sense. You are not a script kiddie anymore. That line, once crossed, does not uncross. Level 3. The certified professional. You get a job. Not a good one at first. Help desk at a small company paying $38,000 a year. You sit in a cubicle and reset passwords. You walk people through connecting to shared printers. It is the most tedious work you've ever done, but you study on every lunch break. You study when you get home, you take the Security Plus exam, you pass it, you take the Certified Ethical Hacker exam, you pass that too. Then you take the OSCP, That one nearly breaks you. The OSCP is a 24-hour practical examination. You sit alone with a network of machines you've never seen. You have to compromise them, document the process, and submit a full report. You do it. You pass. That certification costs 6 months of weekends and evenings and more sustained focus than anything in your life has ever demanded. You add it to your resume. Your salary goes to $62,000. Your title changes. Junior penetration tester. You are now paid to break into systems before the actual threats do. Your clients are companies, banks, healthcare organizations, legal firms. They hire your firm to find the weaknesses in their defenses before someone worse does. You find the weaknesses. You write reports that describe what you found, how bad the exposure is, and what they need to fix. Some clients read the report and act on everything within 90 days. Some read it and address the easy things and ignore the hard ones. 2 years later, you see those second clients in the news. That part is not your problem. Your engagement ends at the report. You understand risk now in ways that change how you see every security measure you encounter. The badge system at your company's building, the password policies that seem restrictive, the backup procedures nobody thinks about. Every defensive measure exists because someone, somewhere, attacked the thing it protects. You read about actual breaches, case studies, post-mortem analyses. You learn what happens when systems fail. The pattern becomes obvious. Failure is not a question of if. It's a question of when and what you do about it then. You operate inside strict rules, every time. Rules of engagement, a document signed before any work begins that defines exactly what systems you're authorized to touch, what methods are permitted, and what window of time you're working inside. You never go outside those boundaries. Not because you couldn't, because you've read the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act carefully enough to understand exactly what it means for someone who steps over the line. Level 4, the bug bounty hunter, you go independent. Technology companies pay independent researchers to find vulnerabilities in their public-facing systems. Google runs a program, Microsoft runs one, nearly every major platform runs one. You register on the bounty platforms, you read scope documents. You probe authorized targets looking for weaknesses the internal teams haven't caught. The payout depends entirely on severity. A low-risk finding might pay $200. A critical vulnerability in a widely used system might pay $50,000 or more. You've read about researchers who found a single flaw worth $200,000 in a single payout. Those stories circulate constantly in the community. They're real. They're also rare enough that you don't plan your finances around them. Your income is unpredictable. Some months you find 4 bugs and clear $10,000. Some months you find nothing at all. You are a freelancer in an industry with no floor beneath you, no employer-sponsored health coverage, no paid time off, no retirement matching. You pay quarterly estimated taxes and keep records of everything because the IRS doesn't accommodate unusual income patterns. Your overhead stays low. A laptop, cloud infrastructure for spinning up test environments, a few tool subscriptions. Most of what you do happens between your ears, and that part costs nothing. The financial mathematics are real, but incomplete. You can live on $10,000 a month if you're careful. You can live on $15,000 if you're not. Most months you're doing one or the other. The unpredictability creates a different kind of stress than a salary does. You cannot assume. You cannot plan beyond 3 months. You build reserves during the good months knowing that the average month will be thinner. You learn the skill of living with genuine uncertainty. The skill required here is different from anything in a structured job. In a corporate penetration test, you have a scope, a timeline, and a team. In bug bounty hunting, you are alone. The scope is the entire authorized surface area. There is no timeline. You learn patience in a way you didn't before. You learn to examine systems from angles that don't occur to most researchers. You find bugs and features that appear to be working correctly. You find them by asking one question about everything you see. What happens if someone uses this the wrong way? You ask that question constantly. It rewires how you see software permanently. You stop seeing products. You start seeing attack surfaces. Level 5, the red team operator. You get recruited, not through a listing, through a message from someone at a security conference who watched you present a technique you developed independently. The offer is from a specialized firm. They run red team operations for major clients, corporations, government contractors, large financial institutions. Red teaming is distinct from penetration testing in a way that matters. A penetration test identifies vulnerabilities. A red team operation simulates a real adversary. You're not just finding the holes. You're moving through them quietly over weeks or months, navigating a network the way a sophisticated attacker actually moves. You're pursuing a specific objective, a particular server, a sensitive database, an executive's communications. You achieve the objective, and then you document exactly how every step was done. The recruitment itself is not dramatic. There is no mysterious contact in person. There is a message on your professional email from a person with legitimate credentials. They reference something specific you wrote or presented. They reference the depth of it. They suggest a conversation. The conversation happens over a video call. The person describes a problem that requires the kind of thinking you've been practicing. The problem is real. The budget to solve it is real. The offer is real. Your team is 4 people. Everyone on it is exceptional without exception. The work requires operational discipline that most practitioners in this field never develop. You don't just know how to compromise a system, you know how to do it without triggering the detection system's monitoring for exactly that behavior. You know how to move through a network without leaving footprints in the logs that security teams watch most closely. You have read everything defenders have written publicly about how they think. You think like the attacker and the defender at the same time. That is not a common combination. It is what makes red team operators expensive. You learn the human element matters as much as the technical element. How do you communicate what you found without triggering alarm? How do you move through a network that is actually actively defended rather than defensively defended? How do you choose your moments? How do you know when you have enough information to move to the next objective? These are questions without clean answers. These are questions you learn by doing them with people who have done them before. You make $160,000 a year. Your clients pay the firm several times that for each engagement. The calculation is simple for them. A successful breach against a major organization costs hundreds of millions in fines, remediation, and reputational damage. What they pay your firm is a fraction of that exposure. The math makes the decision easy. For them, for you, the work itself is the reason you're here. The money just confirms that what you're doing is real. Level 6, the vulnerability researcher. You go deeper. You stop looking for vulnerabilities that other researchers found and documented. You start finding new ones. 0 days. Vulnerabilities that nobody in the world knows about yet. Vulnerabilities with no patch available because the vendor has no idea they exist. Finding a 0 day in a major operating system or browser or widely deployed enterprise platform is the closest thing this world has to hunting something nobody has ever seen before. You know it exists because you understand the terrain well enough to know where things tend to hide. You are reading source code for weeks at a time. You are reverse engineering compiled binaries into something you can reason about. You are running fuzz tests that throw millions of malformed inputs at applications and watching what breaks and why. You are operating at the absolute edge of publicly understood knowledge. The research does not move in a straight line. You can spend 3 months focused entirely on a single code base and find nothing, or find something that affects 300 million devices. You don't know which until you know. You follow instincts that you can't always articulate, and sometimes they lead nowhere, and sometimes they lead to something significant. When you find a real 0 day, you face a choice. You report it to the vendor through a responsible disclosure process. They patch it. You get credit in an advisory document most people will never read. Sometimes there's a financial reward. Sometimes there's nothing except the credit. You do it anyway. That is the version of this work you chose. There are other versions available. Level 7, the Contractor. There is a market for 0 days that exists entirely outside of responsible disclosure. Governments purchase them. Defense contractors purchase them. Intelligence agencies purchase them through intermediaries. The prices are serious numbers. A 0 day affecting a major mobile operating system can sell for $1 to $2 million. A full exploit chain providing remote code execution with no user interaction on a widely deployed platform can sell for significantly more. Brokers operate in this space. They connect researchers to buyers. The transactions are legal in certain jurisdictions. What happens to the product after the sale closes is outside your control. You tell yourself that. Nobody asks how it gets used after the handoff. Nobody asks how. The contractor who works in this market is not always easy to identify from the outside. Legitimate credentials, published research, conference presentations, a professional history that looks clean in any standard check. They operate inside the gray space where national security frameworks and cybersecurity law and international agreements all intersect and produce something that isn't quite any one of them. The money at this level is extraordinary. The clients are serious organizations with serious budgets. The skills required are identical to every level that came before. What changes is not the technique. What changes is the direction it points. Level 8, the advanced operator. You work for a team that does not have a public name in any document you've ever signed. The organization exists. You know it exists. Its operations are not described accurately in press releases or public testimony or the articles that reference it indirectly. You are part of what the external security research community calls an advanced persistent threat group when they publish technical analyses of activity patterns they've detected in compromised networks. You don't think of yourself in those terms. You think of yourself as someone with a job. The job has objectives. The objectives arrive from people above you. You execute them. Your targets are infrastructure, energy systems, financial networks, telecommunications platforms. You don't always know why a specific target matters at a given moment. You don't always ask. Sometimes the objective is access and persistence, holding a door open for someone else to step through when the timing is right. You open the door. You hold it open. You wait. The technical requirements at this level are everything that came before, compounded into something else entirely. You write your own tools from the ground up. Nothing commercially available, nothing that matches a known signature in any threat intelligence feed anywhere. Your malware is custom built for each deployment. Your infrastructure is architected to blend into legitimate internet traffic from services that look unremarkable to anyone examining it. Attribution is the thing your entire operation is designed to prevent. Security researchers at private firms and government agencies are looking at your operational footprints right now and disagreeing about who left them. That disagreement is intentional. It is the product of years of deliberate tradecraft refinement. Your team runs into Ernal exercises specifically to stress test operational security before anything deploys. Every action is reviewed for anything that could be traced. Both the technical work and the tradecraft have to be precise. Either one failing is sufficient to compromise everything. From the outside, the life looks ordinary. An apartment, a commute that looks like any other commute. Mostly standard hours. You do not discuss the work with anyone outside the room where the work happens. Your colleagues are the people physically present with you, and that boundary is absolute. You watch the news, and sometimes a story will appear that sits adjacent to something you have specific knowledge about, and you will read it with a kind of attention that nobody around you would understand or recognize. You finish your coffee, you close the tab, you go back to work. The organization handles your taxes through channels you didn't set up yourself. Everything files correctly, everything looks correct on paper. You've never had to think about it, you're not sure you'd want to.